There is a particular kind of silence that unsettles people more than any confrontation ever could, and it is the silence of someone who has stopped trying to prove themselves. You have felt it before, maybe without knowing what it was. A person sits in a room, says almost nothing, absorbs the noise around them, and somehow leaves the room having said more than everyone who spoke. That is not an accident. That is a discipline. And tonight, we are going to walk through exactly why the most dangerous people in any room are rarely the loudest ones. They are the ones who let you think you already understand them, while they quietly understand everything about you. Most people spend their entire lives correcting the way others perceive them. Someone assumes they are weak, and they rush to prove strength. Someone assumes they are naive, and they rush to prove sophistication. This reflex feels natural, almost involuntary, because being misunderstood triggers something ancient in the human nervous system, a fear of being cast out, a fear of low status, a fear of irrelevance. But the people who rise above the noise of ordinary influence have trained themselves out of that reflex entirely. They have learned that correcting someone's underestimation of you is often the most expensive mistake you can make, because the moment you correct it, you hand them a map of exactly how to handle you. Consider how differently a room behaves around someone it has fully figured out. Once people believe they understand your limits, your temperament, your triggers, they stop watching you closely. They relax. They speak more freely in front of you. They reveal what they actually think, what they actually plan, what they actually fear. This is the quiet, unspoken advantage of being underestimated, and it is why so many of history's most calculating figures cultivated it deliberately rather than avoiding it. They understood a simple, cold truth. Visibility is vulnerability. The less accurately people can predict you, the less power they have over you, and being underestimated is simply the most efficient disguise a mind can wear. This is where the discipline becomes uncomfortable, because it asks you to override one of your deepest emotional needs, the need to be seen accurately by others. And here is where you must say it plainly to yourself. And if it resonates, write it in the comments so it becomes real. I no longer need to be understood to be respected. That single shift changes the entire architecture of how you move through conflict, ambition, and betrayal. Think about the moment someone insults you, dismisses your work, or quietly tries to test your limits in a group setting. The instinctive response is to react immediately, to defend your name in real time, to make sure the room knows you will not tolerate disrespect. But reaction is information. Every time you respond in the moment, you are teaching the people around you exactly which buttons to press and exactly how hard to press them. The sovereign mind does something colder and far more effective. It absorbs the insult without visible disturbance, files it away with total precision, and responds only later, in a manner and a moment entirely of its own choosing, not out of forgiveness, out of strategy. This is not passivity. Passivity is weakness dressed up as patience. What we are describing is something closer to a predator's stillness, the stillness of an animal that has already calculated the outcome and simply does not need to move yet. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago when he wrote about rulers who survived not because they were feared loudly, but because they were unreadable quietly. The prince who reveals his intentions invites resistance before he has even acted. The prince who reveals nothing moves through his enemies like a shadow, moves through a room, present, undeniable, but impossible to grasp. And this is precisely why you must say to yourself, and if you feel the weight of it, type it below, my silence is not weakness, it is inventory. Every slight, every dismissal, every quiet act of disrespect becomes data rather than injury. You are no longer collecting wounds, you are collecting patterns. You begin to see who consistently tries to diminish you when they think no one is watching, who flatters you to your face and undermines you the moment you leave the room, who only respects strength when it is loud and therefore never sees the strength that is silent. This is not paranoia. This is precision. There is a particular kind of person who becomes deeply unsettling once they master emotional detachment, because detachment removes the last lever most people know how to pull. Manipulation depends on predictable emotional reactions. Anger can be provoked into mistakes. Guilt can be provoked into compliance. Fear can be provoked into submission. But when someone no longer reacts on command, when their face remains unreadable and their tone remains level regardless of provocation, the manipulator loses their primary tool. They begin to fear the very silence they once dismissed as passivity because they can no longer predict what is happening beneath it. This detachment is not coldness for its own sake. It is the deliberate removal of your emotional reactions as currency other people can spend. Think of every relationship, every workplace, every family dynamic where someone has learned exactly how to provoke you, exactly which words will make you defensive, exactly which silences will make you anxious enough to fill them. The moment you stop supplying those reactions, the entire dynamic collapses. Because it was never built on respect, it was built on your predictability. This is the point where many people mistake ruthlessness for cruelty. It is not cruelty. Cruelty seeks to cause pain for its own sake. What we are describing seeks only to remove your exposure, to make you illegible to people who have historically used your legibility against you. There is a difference between a closed door and a locked one that has been set on fire. You are not trying to destroy the people around you. You are trying to become someone whose next move cannot be anticipated, priced in, or exploited in advance. And so when someone underestimates you, when they assume your calm means you are unaware, when they assume your silence means you have accepted a lesser position, let them. Let the assumption run its course. Because the moment they act on that false confidence, they reveal their true hand while you have revealed nothing. This is the quiet architecture behind almost every significant reversal of power in history, in business, in politics, in personal relationships. The overconfident always move first. The observant simply wait for that movement. If this resonates with something you have lived through, something you are living through right now, say it clearly in the comments. I will let them underestimate me until the moment it costs them everything. Because that sentence is not aggression. It is patience with teeth. There is a final layer to this, one that most people never reach, because it requires giving up something almost everyone secretly craves, the satisfaction of being recognized in the moment for their intelligence, their restraint, their strength. The sovereign mind gives up applause in exchange for leverage. It stops needing the room to know how much it understands, because the moment the room knows, the advantage disappears. This is why the most formidable people you will ever encounter often seem, on the surface, unremarkable, quiet, even a little dismissible. That is not an accident. That is the final stage of the discipline. You do not need them to see your strength. You need them to never quite locate where it is stored. And when you finally act, when the timing is entirely yours and the outcome is no longer in question, they will look back at every moment they underestimated you and realize, far too late, that it was never carelessness on your part. It was design. Let them think what they want. Let them speak first. Let them move first. Somewhere beneath that stillness, something is always being calculated, and by the time they understand who they were truly dealing with, the moment to change the outcome will have already passed.